Welcome to part 6 of chapter 7. In this part, we will talk about controlling project cost using the so called earned value management or earned value analysis methodology. But first, let's talk about controlling costs in general. Project cost control includes the following activities or sub processes. First of all, monitoring cost performance. Are we within our budget or we consistently exceed our budget or we exceeded our budget in this particular time period? That's what is meant by monitoring cost performance. Ensuring that only appropriate project changes are included in a revised cost baseline. So, for example, if it's detected that you're going over the budget, then those requests that you might, if it's determined by you or your team members that you may be going over the budget, then this request, this suggestion to go over the budget needs to be appropriately evaluated to decide whether you're going to request additional funding or not, whether you're going to revise your cost baseline, your initial budget or not, and then informing project stakeholders of all authorized changes to the project budget and how it will affect cost. I mean, not to the budget, but authorized changes to the scope or the time and how it will affect cost. Again, I would like to note that just like with time, you get in trouble when you don't communicate those changes to project timeline of functionality and how those changes will impact cost in a timely fashion, right? Because if you do it in a timely fashion, when you communicate to your stakeholders consistently about all those changes, then you're keeping them in the loop. There are no surprises at the end of the project. And also it gives them some power, like at any point they may decide to go with the change or not to go, right? But in any case, you're alleviating some of that responsibility that you have on your shoulders with respect to managing cost by including others in the decision-making process. And you're also making it less likely that your stakeholders will be shocked or at least surprised in a negative way with the amount that you're proposing to spend on the project, especially if this amount is drastically different from what was initially agreed upon and from the amounts that are actually put in the project's budget. Overall, many organizations around the globe have problems with cost control. It's not an easy task. Now, one methodology that has been developed to control cost and also other constraints of a project, such as scope and time, is called Earned Value Management Approach, or EVM. So, EVM is a project performance measurement technique that integrates scope, time, and cost data all together. So, given a baseline, meaning a regional plan, plus approved changes, meaning the budget, right? You can determine how well the project is meeting its goals on those three dimensions. One good thing about EVM is that you must enter actual information periodically, so it requires you to go back to the actual project, to the real life, to see how well you're doing. So it's like constant real world monitoring. And more organizations around the world are using EVM to help control project cost. So let's start with some definitions, with some concepts that are used by EVM. The first important concept is the so-called plan value, also called the budget. Is that portion of the approved total cost estimate planned to be spent on an activity during a given period? So basically, plan value is the regionally agreed upon estimate of costs for specific activities, right? For your project activity. So this is what you plan for, okay? Actual cost is the total direct and indirect cost incurred in accomplishing work on an activity during a given period. So plan value means this is how much you planned to spend during a particular period. Actual cost means this is how much you actually spent, right? So actual cost most of the time probably is greater than the planned cost, right? Or oftentimes it's greater. Then the earned value. It's an estimate of the value of the physical work actually completed. So it's a monetary estimate of how much has been done. Now, earned value is based on the regional planned cost, meaning planned value for the project, and the rate at which the team is completing work on the project activity to date. So your completion rate, your rate of performance. So rate of performance is the ratio of actual work completed to the percentage of work planned to have been completed at any given time during the life of the project or activity. To make it simple, rate of performance, how much has been completed, expressed as a percentage. 50% of what was planned, 60%, or 100%, meaning everything. So suppose the server installation was halfway complete by the end of week 1. So the rate of performance is 50 because you were actually planning to finish the server installation by the end of week 1, but you only did 50% of the installation, right? So by the end of week one, the task of installing the server should be 100% completed, but it's only 50% completed. So your rate of performance is 50%, right? And then earned value becomes 5,000. Why it's 5,000? Well, because planned value was $10,000, right? In other words, you estimated, let's say it costs $5,000 to purchase and install a server. So initially you estimated that during week one, you will purchase and install two servers amounting to, and the total cost of purchasing and installing the service would amount to $10,000. But instead, you only completed half of the task. You purchased and installed only one server. So you're only 50% done. Because you're 50% done, you multiply 0.5 by 10, and your earned value, the kind of work that you have completed, is amounting to $5,000. Now imagine the actual cost for you to install the server was $15,000. So in other words, you were planning to spend $5,000, then you realize that this is not enough, you need more powerful server, then you realize that you underestimated the labor cost, so you ended up spending $15,000. So look, your planned value was $10,000, right? But your actual cost is $15,000. So the cost variance becomes minus $10,000, right? So because look, you thought that it would cost you 5,000 to install the server, but you ended up spending 15,000, right? So 5,000 minus 15,000, you have minus 10. So you're like below the original estimate by 10,000. And schedule variance is minus 5,000. So basically you're estimating to earn $10,000 worth of work during the first week, but you ended up completing only 5,000. So 5,000 minus 10,000 is negative 5,000. Okay. Your cost performance index is 33%, and your schedule performance index is 50%. How those performance indices are calculated? Well, cost performance index is calculated by dividing earned value, which is 5,000, by the actual cost, which is 15,000. So that amounts approximately to 33%, or 1/3. And then schedule performance index is determined by dividing earned value, which is 5,000 in our case, by planned value, which is 10,000. So your schedule performance index is 50%, or 1/2. And then how, estimated completion, here we're talking about the budget. If you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. If your cost performance index is 33%, right? And by the way, any kind of number for CPI or SPI less than 100% indicates trouble, right? So think about it. If your cost performance index is 33%, in other words, look, you were estimating 5,000, you end up spending 15,000, right? So basically, you're spending 3 times the amount, and that's why it's 33%. It means your budget, if that continues, if that cost performance index stays the same, then your budget at completion, then your estimated budget at completion will be original budget divided by cost performance index, which is 33%. And given this rate of 33%, your budget at completion will be 3 times the originally, your estimated budget at completion will be 3 times the originally estimated budget, right? Because your cost performance index is 33%. And the same thing with time estimation. I mean, your original time estimate was, let's say, 10 months, but since your schedule performance index is 50%, meaning you're like running behind because anything below 100% indicates problems, you will divide original time estimate of 10 months by 0.5 or 50%, and you'll get 20 months, right? So your time and your budget keeps shifting, giving will shift, giving the following performance indices. So I already explained to you how to calculate it. I just want to show you like a visualization. So here we have the planned value. So over the next 12 months, you are expecting to spend this kind of amount. So this is your budget. This is your final budget. Now your actual cost, which is this punctuated line, is actually above planned value, right? So you immediately see that you're exceeding your cost estimates. In your earned value line is slightly below, which means you're running behind the schedule, right? So you see it's like here we see those indicators. You're behind the schedule, and also you're exceeding your cost estimate. So using the following calculations that I showed you here, this final completion dot moves to the right, up and to the right. So by moving to the right, it means here you have deviation in terms of schedule, so it will be delayed by approximately 1 month. And here you have extra money, roughly $123,000 or 125. Yeah, so you'll have, your budget will be exceeded by $25,000. So once again, you see everything is combined together. Cost, meaning how much it will cost you to complete the project. Time, because you have timeline here, you see whether you're being pushed beyond your original completion date. And also scope, because earned value depends on how much you actually get done, right? So all three constraints are integrated together using the earned value management approach, and can be visualized using the graph that you see here. Okay, friends, so this completes part 6 of chapter 7. Thank you for watching.